In 2023, Ursula von der Leyen turned to the man who once saved the euro, former European Central Bank President Mario Draghi, and gave him a new, important mission. Von der Leyen asked him to conduct a deep investigation to uncover all the reasons why Europe is falling behind, especially compared to China and the United States, and what must be done to reverse this trend. Because today, everybody can see it. Europe is losing ground. Yet few people truly understand the cultural and financial roots of this decline. After all, this is a continent that once ruled the world. It still has money, world-class universities, brilliant minds, and modern infrastructure. So why is it stuck? Well, Draghi's report pointed to some very uncomfortable truths. It was released in September 2024, 1 year after von der Leyen commissioned it. It's a 400 pages long document carrying a very clear warning. Unless Europe implements serious reforms, things will only get worse, and the continent will head towards what Draghi called a slow agony. Europe's first great problem is cultural and deeply rooted in how Europeans see the world. You see, after the trauma of World War II, Europe built a system designed to protect its citizens. Generous welfare states, pensions, free education, and a deep faith in fairness and stability. And for decades, it worked beautifully. Europe became a global model of social justice and quality of life, a place many dreamed of living in. But this success came with a hidden cost. Over time, the desire to preserve stability also created some sort of inertia and mental rigidity. The fear of losing what had been built made Europe cautious, risk-averse, even anxious about change. So focused on protecting the status quo that they began to see change as a threat rather than an opportunity. Today, when something new arrives, electric cars, Uber, Amazon, food delivery apps, Europeans don't always see progress. They see it as a disruption of their way of life. European politics mirrors this mindset. Since World War II, one unwritten social contract has guided the continent. Politicians must act as guardians, protectors of stability and identity. So, when an industry declines, instead of letting it die and encourage transformation, politicians often must step in and rescue it. With subsidies, bailouts, and regulations, it is what we may call a politics of protection. In France, the French government set a minimum book delivery fee to protect small bookshops from Amazon. Even French bakeries are protected with subsidies and strict rules that limit competition from big chains. The result? France has one bakery for every 2,000 people. Not because it makes economic sense, but because the bakery is an untouchable piece of French identity, a symbol of stability and continuity with the past. German cars are another good example. As the world moved towards electric vehicles, Germany initially decided to cling to its traditional car industry and saw electric vehicles as a threat to jobs and brand identity. Volkswagen doubled down its investment in clean diesel, while the German government kept protecting the sector even when reality clearly demanded reinvention. Meanwhile, BYD and Tesla ate up the market. Today, Germany seems to have missed the electric vehicle wave entirely. This politics of protection has built a system that rescues the dying industries of the past while failing to build those of the future. As Draghi said, Europe is designed for the world of yesterday, pouring money and regulations into saving dead sectors rather than investing in the next big idea: AI, green tech, electric mobility, or the next European Amazon. Also, the dirty little secret of European R&D spending is that half of it comes from Germany and most of that spending goes to cars. Just like the United States 25 years ago. Meanwhile, China and the US are investing money into emerging technologies, and it shows. The US has created Tesla, Apple, Nvidia, and Meta. China has created BYD, Alibaba, Tencent, and Huawei. Europe has no equivalent champions of the 21st century. Unfortunately, today the continent is slowly turning into what Draghi fears the most: an open-air museum, visited by masses of tourists that come to appreciate that same beauty that European governments have protected so well. The little bookshop in the Parisian street, the Italian 4 generations vineyard, the family bakery in the rural village, even if preserving that heritage meant taking money away from reinvention and innovation. And this is Europe's biggest paradox, being the old world by name and fact, rich in culture, stunning to visit, but also economically stagnant, slow to adapt, stuck on its ways, and most of all, a continent that consumes American and Chinese innovations instead of creating its own. But culture is definitely not the only problem here. Mario Draghi's report points to another major issue. Even when Europeans do try to innovate, they still hit another wall: money. You see, Europe has no unified capital market. If a French startup wants to raise funds, it will mostly turn to French banks rather than tapping into a deep pan-European investor pool. A German pension fund will almost never invest in that French startup either, meaning that new ideas have limited access to resources. It's pretty much as if Europe was a patchwork of 27 small financial islands, each with its own tiny budget, unable to help each other. This keeps venture capital shallow, especially when compared to Silicon Valley, where startups can attract money way more easily. The result is that Europe's best ideas often die young, or pack their bags and move abroad. But the financial issues don't stop there. You see, Europeans are great savers. In fact, at the very moment, around 14 trillion euros are sitting in bank accounts all across the continent, slowly eaten away by inflation. Even in finance, Europeans choose safety. Money goes to saving accounts and real estate, and people rely on the comforting idea that the welfare state will support them in old age. This is why today only about 15% of European households own stocks. In the US, that number is 55%. This difference matters. It means American companies can raise massive funds directly from private investors. Giants like Apple, Tesla, and Nvidia also grew thanks to this deep capital pool. In Europe, by contrast, companies still depend mostly on bank loans. Then comes the third big obstacle Draghi identified: fragmentation and heavy bureaucracy. Europe isn't one economy. It's 27, badly stitched together. 27 tax systems, 24 languages, dozens of regulators. Now, imagine trying to build a startup under these conditions. You pretty much need 27 different versions of your business to reach 450 million people. Startups drown in paperwork before they ever reach scale, and the continent's ambition is strangled by its own diversity and complexity. That's why Draghi proposed a 28th regime, a single EU rulebook that companies could choose to follow. But this is hard to get done, especially at a time where far-right nationalist parties are rising, choosing sovereignty over integration and making fragmentation even worse. In 2025, 1 year after his report, only 11% of Draghi's recommendations have been officially implemented. His words made headlines for a day, and were then quickly forgotten. Much of this difference between Europe and its global rivals is also tied to how the US and China see the world themselves. For Beijing, disruption and innovation are a national mission. Long working hours, weak labor protections, and environmental damage are often seen as necessary sacrifices to rebuild national strength after years of poverty and humiliation. In the US, a country built by migrants, escaping the old world to build the new, risk is celebrated. If a new idea kills an old business, so be it. Creative destruction is part of the culture, even at the cost of inequality and social fractures. But the story isn't finished yet. If Europe can shift its mindset, pool its money, simplify its rules, and dare to invest in the future, it can still reinvent itself. But if it keeps clinging to the past, it will be left behind once and for all. So the question is no longer whether Europe can compete, it's whether it's willing to, because the clock is ticking and the world is not waiting, and history is rarely kind to those who move too slowly. So do you think Europe still has a chance, or has the race already been lost? Let us know in the comments below.